As you can see from this headline, which is Flemish voters back separatists. The one country in Europe which for 180 years has been amalgamation of Flemish and Walloon people has now voted overwhelmingly, at least what appears to be overwhelmingly, in favor of separation of the Flemish people from the Walloon people. When you look at the latter half of the 20th century and the beginning of this 21st century, it's quite obvious that multicultural nations have failed. You only have to think about, what? Yugoslavia. What is it today? 3 or 4 nations, maybe 5. When you think of Czechoslovakia, you have 2. When you think of Sweden and Norway, well, that was the 19th century, but they separated, and we're better nations for it. Multiculturalism throughout the world has never succeeded. China is not a multicultural nation. There's the imposition of a culture upon it by a political party, by force, that's a fact, and it's suppressing dissident cultures like the Tibetan culture and Xinjiang culture, but it's held together by the iron fist of the Communist Party. Wrongly, I would say, because they deserve to be separate countries, and they will eventually become separate countries as the iron fist begins to lose its strength. But think about India, for instance. There is, of course, there an example of a multicultural society, but it's held together by one thing, the English language, imposed by an imperial power in the 19th century. Therefore, when you think about it in terms of history, Canada is a failure and will never succeed. It is obvious that we are a country held together by artificial constructs which ultimately will not maintain the unity of this diversity, they call it. And with that in mind, Western separatism is the logical, practical result of a realization that we have within us a common language, economic self-sufficiency, and all that matters, all the resources are available to us, and we could have a smaller, better government closer to the people governed. And when you think about Europe and the Belgian situation, shall we call it a 180-year experiment, it's not a happy one. And when the Irish were ruled by the English, it was not a happy union. And therefore there became a separatist movement in the United Kingdom itself. And there was a Scottish nationalist movement, which is growing in strength every day. And what they do to pretend that federalism, or shall we say multiculturalism, works, is they lie in the media, telling you that, oh, Quebec separatism is dead. Well, Quebec separatism is very, very much alive. And it is also true that any Western Canadian who's thinking and who is aware of the general trends of history, it is towards smaller nations, closer to the people governed, and not these megalithic organizations that pretend that the elite, which may very well benefit from the amalgamation, really speaks for the people. The Flemish people have spoken, and the majority have definitely voted for separation in Belgium, and this is the wave of the future, and Western Canada will one day be a free and independent nation, better governed then than it ever has been in Confederation. And that's why I say once again, free the West, vive le Québec libre.